People tend to talk about others as if they really care about them. They tend to talk about things to others as if they are people that are open, generous, and understanding, good at heart. But deep down, people in general prefer the impersonal to the personal. Nobody wants to hear about your personal life unless they truly want to help and they have the means and the time to aid. The media, as well as movies, portray this false idea that every human is good and kind, and that if you are bad, it is because of trauma. Another idea from movies and series is that we should all love each other and help each other when we can. But the truth is that nobody likes to deal with other people's personal problems. Heck, people will constantly and sometimes permanently dismiss their own personal baggage and problems. That is, they will ignore their own personal issues. This makes us think about things from an impersonal and socially distant standpoint. But let us first define what we mean by personal and impersonal. We can use two basic ideas to define personal and impersonal: chaos and order. The first idea is that anything that is personal tends to be messy and disorderly. So in other words, it is the expression of chaos. For example, think back to a problem someone told you about recently. Maybe you had a solution in mind and you told this person the solution. But then they mentioned another factor which had not been set pertinent to the problem, which at the same time makes your solution invalid or unapplicable. This can go on forever, and it is because that which is personal is always layered, complex, and chaotic, full of infinite, most of the time, emotional factors. The second idea is that anything impersonal appears to be well kept and organized. In other words, it is the manifestation of order. For anything impersonal, we have to recall ads or very public places. They are clean, elegant, and pure. Impersonal means distant, cold, attractive, superficial, and indifferent. Politicians, for example, are impersonal because they are always careful to give off a good impression. Now, let's consider a nice house. What does a nice house look like? Impersonally, it looks like a house that we can see in a Hollywood movie, well kept and orderly, a house anyone would be willing to buy because impersonal things always appeal to the masses, to the collective. However, is that really a nice house? Don't you consider your current house a nice house? Wouldn't you make changes and personalize your house if you had a movie house? An impersonal house doesn't have any traces of humanity. It looks like mere decoration, almost fit for a robot. Anything personal is messy, like a personal house, which in many cases can be considered chaotic, disorganized, and even ugly. People like distance between the personal and themselves, and we call that the impersonal. And it makes sense. Nobody wants to get to know the ins and outs of your house or soul deep down. Take, for example, when people talk. Generally, people will talk about very impersonal things to keep the conversation light and superficial, the weather or their jobs. When we dive into the personal, however, things tend to get deeper and messier, and generally people don't like that. Why is it that we don't like to get personal? Why do people always say, don't take it personally? What is the matter with the personal realm? Why do we run from it? And why do we prefer things to be kept impersonal in society? It is funny because when we hear statements like, don't take that personally, or it's nothing personal, people will take it personally. Someone once said that it is impossible not to take things personally since everything in your life is personal to you because it is your life. Also consider social media. People tend to remove friends or people that are always sharing personal things. It gets annoying to always see their personal life on their feed all of the time. Yet for people that will occasionally share some impersonal picture like them at some famous landmark, people will like it while not thinking much of it. Attention is also for the personal. The impersonal takes little attention and maybe a polite smile while it walks away. The personal wants all of the spotlight all of the time, so we can say that frequency is also in the picture. time that is. If you make yourself present regularly, people will view that as personal and therefore ugly. If you do it less often, though, you will activate the scarcity principle from Robert Cialdini's book on influence and make yourself more valuable due to the idea that you are not that available. We can see that when things get personal with someone, whether they are angry, sad, or afraid, the other party can become a sort of parent figure to the person in trouble. That is, you become a shoulder to cry on. But the problem isn't the fact that you are helping a friend out with a personal problem. It is the fact that that friend may only seek you out to help them with personal problems. And the day you try to put a stop to that or tell them about a problem you have, they won't have it. They won't hear it. They'll throw a tantrum and will resent you as a child would resent their parents for taking the spotlight away from them. This is the reason why the personal can get quite ugly very quickly. So the impersonal is a way for our modern civilization to draw lines among individuals, since those who reside in cities live, after all, in mainly individualistic societies. Now, according to Disney and Inside Out, and I say this with an eye roll due to the media once again putting its hand into the scientific, disgust is one of the core emotions in humans, and this emotion makes itself manifest when we are in a situation of potential danger, kind of like fear, except fear is expressed with a heart rate increased, while disgust focuses on contamination and slows down the heart rate. Disgust, in probably more than one way, is the opposite of excitement, which approaches that which it senses and perceives. Disgust slowly backs away from it, not as fast as fear, but it still retreats nonetheless. We can even say that disgust could at times be a precondition to anger and rage. If, say, you tell someone you don't want to eat that disgusting food and they keep trying to push it on you, then you might get angry and yell at them or knock the food out of their hands. Now, disgust is the emotion we feel for the personal. It makes us uncomfortable to see and view the messy, disorganized, and ugly. We may not show it on the surface, but the emotions of evasion and trying to distance ourselves from the personal are there. The impersonal is also associated with a demanding society that seeks perfection relentlessly and doesn't take anything less than purely and immaculately organized and orderly. This goes as much for the physical, like a house, as for the mental and social interactions within society. People will generally only talk well when they want to talk, but in the public eye, people only talk when they need to talk, which is a different conversation. This means that people generally tend to stay away from people, only talking to people when they truly need to talk to them. And just like we have intensive and extensive reading, we also may have intensive talking and extensive talking. Intensive means you do it for a clear purpose, like finding out if the report was filled out or not, while extensive is when you simply chat about whatever with no clear purpose. Again, this may be because the city life is harsher to the human spirit than life in the country. However, life nowadays is inevitably heading towards cities and not so much country life anymore. Impersonal doesn't mean what is attractive and organized. Impersonal has to do with a complete disconnection from humanity and from our emotions. This essay is ultimately a criticism to modern society with its demanding and impatient attitude, while that which is personal doesn't mean that it is that which is messy and chaotic, but rather that which needs to be worked on in particular spaces and moments, such as with professional help. Don't forget to subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and explore more on Abstracto. If you stayed until the end of the video, thank you. Next video will be about oversharing. It's a problem.